Hey there, welcome to the Stoic Inspire channel, the place where we explore the deeper layers of life, growth, and understanding. Today we're diving into a topic that has puzzled humanity for centuries, and I promise you, it's one of the most discussed and least understood aspects of relationships. We're talking about why men don't understand women. I know. It's a tricky one. But stick with me because we're going to uncover this with a fresh perspective, one that blends self-awareness, philosophy, and yes, maybe a touch of humor. Number 1. The complex nature of understanding. Understanding another person, especially someone from a different gender, is often portrayed as a challenge. However, when we dig deeper, the real difficulty lies in the complexity of human nature itself. The notion that men don't understand women isn't just about gender differences, it's about the intricate layers of personality, emotions, and experiences that shape every individual. At the core, both men and women possess different emotional processing mechanisms and ways of expressing their thoughts. This complexity isn't something that can be easily decoded or simplified. Men, generally speaking, tend to approach the world more logically and practically, which sometimes leads to them oversimplifying the emotional world that women navigate. On the other hand, women tend to be more emotionally attuned and responsive, which can make their responses seem unpredictable to men who are more focused on solutions. This difference doesn't come from a lack of understanding, but from the complexity that lies within each person's internal landscape. When a man doesn't understand a woman's reaction, it isn't necessarily because he isn't trying or doesn't care. It's because the emotions and motivations behind her actions are nuanced and often layered with previous experiences, societal expectations, and individual personality traits. These layers aren't always visible at first glance. The idea that men need to understand women also needs to be rethought. It's not about achieving perfect comprehension, but rather learning to appreciate and respect the depth of emotional complexity that each person brings to the table. Men and women alike must recognize that there's no simple equation for understanding the opposite gender. It's a dance of mutual respect, learning, and evolving together. In relationships, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everything should be communicated in clear, easily digestible terms. But human beings are anything but simple. Emotions don't always come in logical sequences, and behaviors are not always rooted in obvious reasons. The complexity of understanding each other, whether it's men trying to understand women or vice versa, is something that requires patience, empathy, and an openness to the idea that no matter how much we think we understand, there's always more to discover. Ultimately, this complexity should be celebrated, not feared. It's the rich tapestry of experiences, emotions, and unique perspectives that makes any relationship, whether between men and women or among individuals of the same gender, so profound and meaningful. Number 2. Expectations and society. When we think about expectations in relationships, we often forget how deeply society shapes our understanding of the roles men and women should play. From an early age, boys and girls are taught through every form of media, culture, and family dynamics about what is appropriate for their gender. These societal expectations create a rigid framework for how men should behave and what they should value in a partner, while women are often placed under the weight of unrealistic standards of beauty, emotional intelligence, and nurturing qualities. The idea that men don't understand women isn't just about individual disconnects, it's a reflection of the complex web of norms that society has woven over generations. For men, society teaches them to be strong, independent, and emotionally reserved. They're told that vulnerability is a weakness, and expressing emotions is something to be avoided. This leads to a barrier when it comes to understanding women, especially when women are raised in a different environment, where they are encouraged to express themselves emotionally and tend to be more attuned to the emotional nuances of those around them. On the flip side, women are often expected to be everything: the caregiver, the homemaker, the emotionally intelligent listener, and the supportive partner. Society, particularly in the US, puts a lot of pressure on women to perform these roles perfectly while maintaining an image of strength, grace, and balance. This societal pressure leads to confusion in relationships because men may fail to recognize that their partner's needs are not just about being understood on a superficial level, but about meeting the emotional and social needs shaped by these expectations. Another facet of this issue is the idea of chivalry, or the expectation that men should always know how to handle women's emotions, even when they are not given the tools or understanding to do so. For example, society often romanticizes the idea that men should be mind readers or intuitively know what a woman needs, leaving men confused when their efforts fall short. Meanwhile, women may feel frustrated by their partner's inability to meet their expectations, not because the partner is incapable, but because the societal constructs create an illusion that understanding should come naturally. These expectations affect how men perceive women and their relationships. They might feel the pressure to provide answers, solutions, or displays of strength, when sometimes what women need is simple empathy and active listening. This disconnect doesn't come from a lack of love or effort, but from the ingrained belief systems that men and women are supposed to operate on different wavelengths. The real challenge is recognizing that both genders are deeply affected by society's expectations, and this often leads to miscommunication and misunderstanding. It's important to remember that breaking free from these societal expectations takes time, effort, and a willingness to understand one another on a deeper, more human level. Men must unlearn certain stereotypes about what it means to be masculine, while women must feel empowered to define their own expectations and standards without feeling the pressure of societal norms. Only then can the walls between the genders begin to come down, allowing men and women to truly understand one another in ways that go beyond what society has told them they should expect. Understanding each other is about more than just acknowledging each other's differences. It's about challenging the societal expectations that often keep us apart and embracing the complexity of the human experience in all its forms. Number 3. Emotional intelligence. The key to understanding. Understanding women goes beyond just knowing their words. It's about connecting with their emotions at a deeper level, and that's where emotional intelligence comes into play. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence emotions, both your own and others. It's a skill that can bridge the emotional gap between men and women. When men develop their EI, they can not only understand the surface emotions, but also the deeper feelings that often remain unsaid. Women, on average, are more attuned to their emotions and the emotions of others, which is why they tend to express themselves more openly and often expect others to be just as emotionally aware. Men, however, are often socialized to prioritize logic over emotion, making it harder for them to tune into the subtleties of emotional exchanges. This isn't about being less emotionally capable, it's about a difference in emotional awareness and expression. Through emotional intelligence, men can begin to understand these emotional cues and respond with empathy, something that is crucial in relationships. Empathy, a core component of EI, is the ability to feel what the other person is feeling. In a relationship, it allows men to validate women's emotions, rather than dismissing them or trying to fix the situation. When men understand that emotions aren't always meant to be solved, but often just expressed and heard, they can foster a deeper emotional connection with women. Emotional intelligence also includes emotional regulation, which means managing your own emotions, especially during conflicts. Men who practice emotional regulation are better able to remain calm and responsive, rather than reactive. This creates a safe space for women to express themselves without fear of being judged or misunderstood. When a man can regulate his own emotions, he is more equipped to understand his partner's emotional state and respond in a supportive way. The key to unlocking better emotional understanding is empathy and emotional awareness. When men can tune into not just what a woman says, but how she feels, and when they manage their own emotional responses, they begin to understand the deeper layers of communication. It's not about agreeing with everything she says, but about truly hearing and validating her emotions. Developing emotional intelligence is the path to this understanding, creating stronger, more harmonious relationships based on empathy, communication, and emotional connection. Number 4, the power of communication. When it comes to relationships, communication stands as one of the most critical pillars of understanding. Yet, so often, it's the root cause of misunderstanding between men and women. The crux of the issue lies in the fact that men and women are not only biologically wired differently, but are also raised in distinct societal environments that shape their communication styles. Men often communicate to convey information, fix problems, or express ideas succinctly, whereas women tend to communicate with the intention of sharing emotions, building connections, and seeking empathy. This difference in approach is often misinterpreted. For men, the purpose of communication might be clear-cut. If something's wrong, let's fix it. This often leaves women feeling unheard because they might not always be seeking a solution, but rather an emotional response, understanding, or simply someone to listen. On the other hand, women might feel that men are not fully engaging in the emotional depth of a conversation, leading to frustration and the feeling of being misunderstood. It's essential to realize that these two styles are not inherently flawed, but simply reflect the distinct ways each gender processes and conveys thoughts and feelings. What makes this divide even more complicated is the way that non-verbal communication plays into the equation. For women, body language, tone, and subtle hints are crucial components of their communication. When a woman's tone changes or she uses non-verbal cues, it's often because she expects the person she's talking to, particularly her partner, to pick up on these signals and respond with sensitivity. However, men who might be less attuned to these nuances can miss these cues altogether, making women feel invalidated. Without realizing it, the lack of proper response can worsen the gap of misunderstanding. The real power of communication, though, lies in the willingness to bridge this divide. Understanding that your partner communicates differently is the first step. When men become more attuned to the emotional layers that women express, even in their body language or tone, they can start to respond in a more meaningful way. Conversely, women can be more direct with their needs, ensuring that their partner understands when they're seeking empathy over problem solving. But it's not just about recognizing the differences. It's about creating a space where both people feel comfortable enough to express themselves fully without fear of judgment. Men can begin to listen without jumping to conclusions or offering solutions right away. Women, in turn, can understand that sometimes their partner might not immediately grasp the emotional depth they wish to convey. This doesn't mean a lack of care, it's simply a different way of processing and responding. Communication is not about being perfect, it's about being willing to adapt and create a dialogue where both sides can feel seen, heard, and validated. By learning to communicate with compassion and patience, both men and women can find a balance where their different styles don't create barriers, but instead foster deeper understanding. The power of communication is not in simply exchanging words, It's in truly connecting with the other person's emotions and intentions. When men and women learn to speak in a way that acknowledges their differences, they unlock a profound level of understanding and intimacy. Communication is a tool not just for solving problems, but for truly understanding each other. It's about creating a dialogue where emotional needs are recognized and validated, where there's space for both voices to be heard equally. The power of communication doesn't just resolve conflict, it deepens relationships and transforms them into something that's not only understood, but cherished. Number 5. Influence of childhood and upbringing. The dynamics of relationships between men and women have long been the subject of debate, but one often overlooked factor is the profound influence that childhood and upbringing have on our understanding of each other. How we were raised plays a pivotal role in shaping how we perceive the opposite sex, how we communicate, and even how we handle conflicts or affection in relationships. Let's take a deep dive into the impact of childhood experiences on this issue. From an early age, both boys and girls are socialized to adopt specific roles and behaviors that are deemed appropriate for their gender. These expectations are not just societal, but also embedded in the family structure. In many cases, parents unknowingly reinforce gender norms by treating their children differently based on whether they're boys or girls. Boys may be taught to suppress their emotions, be tough, and prioritize logic over empathy, while girls may be encouraged to express emotions freely and prioritize relationships and care for others. This early conditioning creates a divide that grows wider as these children enter adulthood. For men, their upbringing might teach them to view emotions as a sign of weakness, which can lead to difficulty in understanding the emotional expressions of women. They are conditioned to view vulnerability and openness as something to avoid. When a woman expresses her emotions, especially in a relationship, it can confuse a man because he's been taught, either directly or indirectly, that emotions are not to be displayed or discussed openly. This contrast in emotional expression and perception can create a barrier in communication, causing men to fail to comprehend why a woman is upset or why she reacts the way she does to certain situations. On the other hand, women often grow up with the expectation that they will be nurturers, caregivers, and emotional anchors. They are taught to express their feelings, seek emotional validation, and nurture the relationships around them. However, this can lead to frustrations in relationships when men don't respond with the same level of emotional awareness and engagement. Women might feel misunderstood because they believe men should just get it, but the truth is, many men were raised in environments where emotional intelligence wasn't as heavily emphasized or even encouraged. Furthermore, the way we observe our parents and caregivers interact with each other leaves a lasting imprint on how we later navigate relationships. Men growing up watching their fathers interact with their mothers, or lack thereof, might form skewed perceptions of how relationships should function. If a man saw his father as distant or emotionally unavailable, he might unintentionally replicate that behavior, failing to connect emotionally with his partner. Similarly, a woman who saw her mother always putting others' needs first might expect the same selflessness from her partner, which can be a point of conflict when men, often raised with a different set of values around independence and self-reliance, do not meet these expectations. In addition, the communication styles that develop in childhood play a critical role. Girls are often encouraged to talk about their feelings, share openly, and bond emotionally through verbal communication. Boys, on the other hand, are more likely to be praised for physical accomplishments or intellectual success, rather than their ability to communicate emotionally. This difference leads to significant misunderstandings when it comes time for emotional exchanges in adulthood. A woman might express her feelings through words, while a man might show his love or care through actions or gestures instead of conversation. leading to confusion and frustration on both sides. So, the key takeaway here is that childhood experiences and upbringing shape the way men and women approach relationships. The emotional conditioning, gender roles, and communication patterns learned in early life heavily influence how each person interacts with and understands their partner. It's not that men are incapable of understanding women. Rather, it's that they may not have been taught or conditioned to respond in ways that align with a woman's expectations. Understanding this dynamic can foster empathy, better communication, and ultimately help bridge the gap between men and women. Recognizing the influence of childhood and upbringing helps us approach relationships with greater patience, empathy, and awareness. By acknowledging how deeply ingrained beliefs and behaviors are formed from an early age, we can create environments where both men and women are encouraged to express themselves openly, understand each other's perspectives, and build healthier, more harmonious relationships. When both partners recognize the impact of their upbringing, it's possible to break through the misunderstandings and work towards greater emotional understanding and connection. Number 6, the role of empathy. Empathy plays a crucial role in understanding the emotional needs of others, especially when it comes to relationships between men and women. Men are often socialized to value rationality and suppress emotions, while women are encouraged to express their feelings and connect emotionally. This difference in emotional awareness can lead to misunderstandings, as men may struggle to engage with the emotional cues women share. Empathy is not about feeling exactly what the other person feels, but about understanding their emotions and responding with care. For many men, this means learning to listen actively, being present, and truly understanding their partner's feelings rather than jumping to fix the problem. Often, when women express emotions, they seek validation and understanding, not necessarily a solution. When men fail to recognize this, it can make women feel dismissed or misunderstood. The key to bridging this gap is active listening. Men should focus on understanding the emotional experience of their partner, not just the problem at hand. Simple statements like, "I understand how that would make you feel," can go a long way in showing empathy and strengthening the relationship. In conclusion, empathy helps men and women connect on a deeper level. By practicing active listening and validating emotions, men can create stronger, more meaningful relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. Empathy doesn't come easily for everyone, but with effort, it can be learned and can lead to more fulfilling connections. Number 7, the balance of masculine and feminine energies. The disconnect between men and women often boils down to the imbalance of masculine and feminine energies. These energies, present in all of us regardless of gender, play a significant role in how we interact with others. Masculine energy is action-driven, logical and structured, while feminine energy is intuitive, emotional, and nurturing. When either energy is neglected or overemphasized, misunderstandings arise. Men often lean into their masculine energy, focused on logic and action, which can cause them to overlook the emotional and intuitive needs women express. Women, conversely, may embrace their feminine energy too strongly, struggling to assert themselves in situations where masculine qualities like decisiveness are needed. This imbalance creates confusion and frustration in relationships. Balancing these energies isn't about suppressing one or the other, it's about finding harmony between them. For men, this means embracing vulnerability and empathy. For women, tapping into assertiveness and strength. When both energies are in balance, relationships move beyond surface-level communication into a deeper, more connected space. Understanding and balancing masculine and feminine energies can help both men and women develop a better sense of self and foster healthier, more fulfilling relationships. It's about knowing when to shift between energies depending on the situation, and recognizing that both energies are necessary for personal and relational growth. By embracing both masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves, we unlock a deeper level of connection and understanding. Number 8. Embrace the journey. Understanding the complexities of human relationships, especially between men and women, is like navigating an endless road with twists, turns, and unexpected detours. As much as we want to find quick solutions or easy fixes, the truth is, the journey itself is the key. Both men and women bring different experiences, perspectives, and emotional landscapes into their interactions. It's easy to think that understanding a person is a final destination, a place where everything clicks and makes sense. But that's rarely the case. The real magic lies in the willingness to embark on the journey, to grow, and to accept that the path is full of uncertainty, learning, and self-discovery. For men, the idea of understanding can sometimes be rooted in logic, in black and white terms. But when it comes to women, emotions often operate on a different level, nuanced, complex, and dynamic. So, why do we struggle? It's because we expect answers, but answers are not always available in a simple form. Women don't need to be solved. They need to be understood, respected, and embraced in their entirety, in all their emotional layers. It's not about reaching a conclusion where you get her. It's about being with her through the ups and downs, the moments of clarity, and the moments of confusion. When we embrace the journey, we start letting go of the need to constantly fix or understand everything. Instead, we focus on walking the path with empathy and patience. This journey is about listening, being present, and engaging without judgment. There will be missteps along the way, moments where things feel strained, but that's all part of the process. Growth comes from challenges, and true connection blossoms when both people are willing to evolve together. In the end, it's not about having a perfect understanding of each other. It's about embracing the experience, the highs and lows, the conversations that don't have immediate answers, and the lessons that come with each shared moment. When men and women embrace the journey, they open themselves to deeper, more meaningful relationships. And that's where real understanding begins, not as a goal to be achieved, but as an ongoing, ever-evolving experience. In today's video, we uncovered why men often struggle to understand women and how empathy, communication, and self-awareness can bridge the gap. By embracing Stoic philosophy and emotional intelligence, we can create deeper, more meaningful connections. If this resonated with you, leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos on growth and understanding.